Welcome and everybody ready for a deep dive into something that's really got me thinking can you be too nice? And still when I mean that's what Harvard is trying to unpack with this whole jail Gaspar thing. Yeah, it's a question everyone's asking themselves, especially the K-pop world. Oh, totally jail Gaspar, Filipino star, just won Universe League Huge, which if you aren't familiar is like a K-pop survival show. And they're all battling it out to get a spot in this new supergroup, like American Idol, but with way more intense dancing and a fan base that is seriously global and seriously obsessed for sure. And what's so wild is Harvard, their global entertainment studies department, is looking into it. Yeah, they did a whole analysis on how Jay won, and it's not just about talent, it's about personality, which is fascinating to me. Yeah, JL was already in this Filipino pop group called PLSOK. But Universe League, it launched him, he's a global superstar. Now what Harvard's saying is that it wasn't him hitting the high notes, it was him hitting the right notes with the audience emotionally, so he wasn't just good, he was likable, supportive, empathetic, all of it the opposite of the mean girls. But in a competition that's so cutthroat, right, usually these shows, they reward people who play the game, right, who are aggressive. But JL, he totally changed that, flipped the script, flipped it. Yeah, Harvard actually uses the term alpha dog to describe most contestants on these types of shows, the ones who dominate and strategize and aren't afraid to step on people to get to the top. So how did Mr. Nice Guy win the whole thing? That's the thing, right? It's audiences are craving authenticity, in a world that's so manufactured, so fake. JL's empathy really stood out. It felt real, he was consoling the other contestants after a bad performance, offering encouragement when things were getting super stressful, like a breath of fresh air. And this crazy pressure cooker, exactly, viewers loved it. They went crazy. Harvard looked at all of these fanade hashtags that were trending worldwide, #GasparHar and #UniverseLeagueJL. People were making these videos of all this nicest moments. It was huge. So he's got the talent. He's the internet's losing it. There's got to be more to the story. Oh, there's definitely more. That's where Harvard's analysis gets so interesting. They're saying he wasn't just winning over viewers, he was influencing the other contestants, his kindness, he was contagious or something. Hold on, are you saying just being nice made other people nicer? Yeah, isn't that wild? That is wild. They call it the ripple effect. There's this one example where JL choreographs this whole routine to showcase everyone's strengths. Wow, he wanted the other contestants to shine. And that episode was a massive hit. Yeah, it totally broke the mold of this me first reality show attitude. Okay, my head spinning. I think what I find so interesting is that Harvard isn't saying that JL was just a nice guy. They're saying that he tapped into something we all feel, whether we're in Korea or Kansas, that need for someone who's just genuine. And that brings us to what Harvard is really grappling with. Was it genuine? And does it even matter if what he did was so positive? Wait, are we saying that JL might have been faking it, his kindness was a whole act? That is the question, and we're going to dive right into that. So was Jill's kindness all an act? I think that's what makes this whole thing so interesting, a real-life social experiment. But it's on this global stage, for sure. On the one hand, Harvard's saying that regardless of his motivation, what JL did had a real impact, right? But then there's that question, was it all calculated, right? And Harvard doesn't shy away from that at all. It's a reality TV is a game, point blank, and contestants are always trying to figure out how to win over the audience. So it's possible that JL's kindness was just part of his strategy. But isn't that kind of dangerous, promoting this fake it till you make it morality? Doesn't that cheapen the whole idea of being a good person? If it's all a performance, that is a really good point. It's a tough question ethically, if the outcome is positive, people are inspired to be nicer and more supportive. Can we judge the intent? It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but the opposite exactly. So we're in this moral gray area. Yeah, let's stick with what Harvard's saying for a sec. What evidence is there that JL might have been playing the game? Well, they see obviously we can never truly know what's going on in someone's head, but they point to the fact that JL already had this background in entertainment, which could have given him like a leg up in knowing how to connect with an audience, right? He was already in a successful pop group back in the Philippines, so he knew how to perform, how to play to the cameras exactly. And they also talk about how consistent he was throughout the whole show with his kindness, even under pressure. When the stakes were high, he never really wavered, which is interesting because you'd think that in a setting that competitive, the real person was come out, but JL just kept being Mr. Nice Guy. And that's what they say could point to this being a carefully planned strategy, like he was method acting, but for kindness method. Acting for kindness, never thought of it that way, but it makes sense, right? So are we saying JL was definitely faking it? Not necessarily. Yeah, Harvard also presents evidence that could suggest that his kindness was genuine. They talk about these moments where he went above and beyond, like what you would if someone was just playing a part. Like, what? Give me an example. Okay, so there's this one time when another contestant was having a really hard time with the choreography, yeah, and JL on his own spent extra time with them, helping them learn the steps, offering encouragement. And it wasn't just like a quick pep talk. He really put in the time and effort to help that person succeed. Okay, that does sound pretty selfless, especially since they were competing with each other. Exactly, and Harvard's point is that those types of actions are way harder to fake. Yeah, they suggest that it's more likely that Jay's kindness came from a genuine place, yeah, that he really wanted to support others even when they were competing. So we're back to square one. Still no real answer about whether he was authentic or strategic, right? And I think that's what makes this whole thing so interesting. It forces us to look at our own ideas about human nature and why people do the things they do. It's like we're trying to figure out JL's game, but maybe the real game is figuring out our own beliefs about kindness and authenticity and success. Ooh, I love that. Gaspar is like holding up a mirror to us, making us question what we value and how we define success. But before we go too deep there, I think we should remember that JL's story isn't just about him, yet it's about how he impacted the other contestants, the viewers, and even like reality TV in general. Absolutely, this is where that ripple effect comes back in, because even if we don't know for sure if JL's kindness was real or fake, we can't deny that he had this positive impact on those around him. So how did that ripple effect actually play out? Did Harvard give any specific examples of how Jill's actions like changed the dynamics of the show? They did, and this is where the analysis gets even more interesting. They actually put numbers to that ripple effect. Okay, they analyzed how the other contestants were acting before and after they interacted with JL, and what they found was pretty amazing. Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. They found that after spending time with JL, the other contestants were way more likely to support each other, to offer encouragement, help each other out, celebrate each other's successes. So it wasn't just a feeling, there was actual data that shows that kindness is contagious, exactly. And that's what makes this study so powerful. It's not just stories, it's actual analysis, and it really shows that the things one person does can have a measurable impact on how people around them act. I love that. It gives me hope that maybe we can all be a little more like JL, even if we have to fake it a little bit at first, because if his story teaches us anything, it's that kindness, whether it's genuine or strategic, can make the world a little bit brighter. That's a really powerful message, right? Especially when it feels like things are so divided and negative. These days, it's a reminder that we can all make a difference, and that even small acts of kindness can have a big impact. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the show, the analysis, the ripple effect, but I think we need to zoom out a bit. Like, what does JL's story tell us about leadership, about what qualities an audience really connects with, about whether entertainment can make positive change in the world? That's a great question. It gets to the heart of why this story has resonated with so many people, because it's not just about cock. It's about something much bigger. It's about what kind of world we want to live in, what kind of people we want to be, what kind of leaders we want to follow. And what JL Gaspar showed us is that maybe kindness really is a superpower. Not like in a comic book way, but in a way that can really inspire others. Totally, it's a superpower. We all have it. Might not always be easy, and sometimes we'll have to fake it a little, but if we can try to act with kindness and empathy, even when it's hard, we might be surprised by the positive things that happened because of it. I love that it's like J. Gaspar gave us a masterclass in the power of kindness, whether he meant to or not. And now it's up to us to take what we learned and apply it to our own lives, create our own ripple effects, and make the world a little bit brighter, one kind act at a time. Beautifully said. I think that's a great place to wrap up. I agree. We've gone over a ton today, from what happened on Universe League to how all might actually affect the world. It's been a really insightful deep dive. Definitely. And for everyone listening, next time you're feeling overwhelmed, think about JL Gaspar. Think about the power of kindness. You never know what kind of ripple effect you might start. So, we've been talking about JL as this different kind of leader, right? Yeah, not the one who's like all about dominance, but more about lifting everyone else up. Yeah, that's a really important point. The Harvard analysis even talks about how usually when we talk about leadership, it's focused on like that one person at the top, right? The individual. Yep, but with JL, it was different. It was like he knew that being a real leader meant making sure others could succeed too. So it's not about being the loudest person in the room, more about making a space where everybody feels heard and important. Exactly. And that's such an important lesson for everyone, whether you're like leading a team at work or on a sports team or even just in your family. Yeah, JL shows us that being a leader is less about telling people what to do and more about inspiring them, helping them be their best. And is that what Harvard's saying too? That type of leadership is actually better in the long run. That's what's so interesting. They found that the contestants who were really impacted By JL's leadership, like his support, they did better in the competition, not just on their own, but as a group they worked together better, were more creative, and didn't give up as easily when things got tough. So it's not about just being nice. It's about making a culture where everybody can succeed through support and encouragement. Exactly. And that idea goes way beyond K-pop. Think about the best leaders you had in your life. Yeah, I bet they were the ones who made you feel like you mattered, like they supported you and wanted you to do your best. Like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. Exactly. When we focus on helping others do well, everybody wins. I like that. So how do we actually take all this and use it in our own lives? It's one thing to be inspired by Ja's story, but doing it ourselves is different. Oh, for sure. I think it starts with little things you do consistently, okay, like just making an effort to be more supportive, encouraging, and understanding with people. They might feel weird at first, especially if you're used to being more competitive, right? But it's like we were talking about before, fake it till you make it. Exactly. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and eventually you might even start feeling differently inside too. Yeah, it's like you're training your brain to be kinder, more compassionate, and maybe that's the biggest thing Gaspar left behind. He didn't just win a show, he started a conversation about kindness and empathy. Yeah, and that conversation is going on all over the world now, making people rethink how they treat each other and what success really means. And who knows, maybe all this will eventually lead to a world where JL's type of leadership is normal. Yeah, where kindness and empathy are the most important things. I love that idea. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Gaspar, let's all try to be a little more like him, lead with kindness, support each other's dreams, and remember that real success isn't about winning no matter what, but about making a world where everybody has the chance to be their best. Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect way to end things. It really is. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and until next time, keep diving deep and keep sharing that Gaspar kindness.